Welcome back once more to my train hobby. Now my next project up is one I've actually already completed, but one of my subscribers said he would really like to see a video of me doing it, so I'm more than happy to oblige. I took it apart, and here are the steps I went through to take a older Marx locomotive, take the motor out of it, and put it into scrapped Lionel Model 1110 steam engine shell. Now, starting with the Marx locomotive, I received it pretty much as you see. The pin in the back, the coupler was missing, the screw holding it in is non-original, but the way the motors mount these Marxes is like a sliced out, cut out tab back here, and this one is bent. I guess somebody who had no idea how to get it out has abused it, but I wasn't planning on keeping the shell anyway. It had one screw holding the motor in place. It's not an original screw. There was none on the other side. The screw is the right size thread, so at least whoever had it before me tried to do right by it. Well, let's get the motor out of it and see what we have. And just take the screw out here. Hold on to it. You never know when you're going to need them again. And these used to just drop down and slide out. Now this one I've got to play with a little bit because it's bent in the back here, and throw that away, and we won't need that anymore. Now this motor, when I got it, it was very stiff, very squeaky, but it did run. I lubed it up and whatnot and let it set for a day or so, let the lube soak in, and I ran it, and it ran pretty good. The E unit doesn't cycle correctly, but it mostly wanted to run in the forward position, which I was okay with. However, when I originally got back to this, and I started this project almost a year ago, when I got back to it a couple of days ago, the engine only wanted to run in reverse. Could not get it to go to forward. Now I might try to free the E unit up a little bit, but most likely if I can't, what I'll do is I'll just take the E unit out of the equation. Now there's a couple of YouTube videos on how to do that. Ben's Trains. He has a very good video on doing that, but basically you just want to take the wire that comes up off the pickup shoe, runs to the light, and then runs into the E unit. Just clip it there, clip all the other E unit wires, and clip the ones coming from the coil. And what you want to do, if I remember this right, because I've done it on 2 locomotives already, is you run from the light to this end of the coil here, and from this end down to the upper brush plate, and that should make it a forward only running engine. Now if I have that backwards and you do this and it runs backwards, then you want to run that coming from the light to this side of the coil and the other side of the coil down to the front brush plate. I only own one Lionel steam locomotive, and it's a totally different model than this one. This is the 110. I've never taken the one that I have. I think it's a 2037 apart. But in looking at this, trying to figure how I can mount this motor inside this shell. Now these on the Marx here, these are the original notches where it would fit into the shell, and then the screws would go in through the shell into these mounts on the front. And that was just not going to work. The motor was going to set just too low into the shell. I could make some kind of custom bracket. It was a lot of work, so what I ended up deciding to do was just about split this difference in half and drill a hole all the way through. And I am going to use the little pin here that the original motor mounted on. That'll go into the frame of the Marx motor. Then all I need to do is fabricate some kind of way to get the this front crossbar to mount into the Lionel shell. Now getting all these pieces together is a little tricky, because once you put the motor into the shell, you're kind of looking blind in there. You can't really see where you're sliding this pin in at, so you kind of have to play around with it a little bit. And the second thing I found during the process is that because of the clearances on the inside of the shell, the motor just does not want to sit in there quite straight. It's a little cattywampish, I guess you could say. So to try to combat some of that, I actually drilled one of these holes out oversized compared to the size on the other end of the motor mounts or motor side plates. And that gave me the option of slightly turning the motor like this, trying to get a better alignment. But I'll put this in. Let me see how long it takes. Well, that wasn't too bad. It took me probably less than a minute to get that lined up right and get that screwed into place. But as you can probably see on here now, the motor is slightly sideways in there. Now, I haven't actually had this on track yet to see how that would look, but I'd sure like to straighten it up some. I'd rather not have it at that angle like that. Let me see what I have here. Maybe I can do something with this real quick. Now I have the motor slid towards me as far as it'll go in there, and with the one oversized hole it's allowed me to straighten it up some, but you can still see it's way out of square. And this is pretty much where I had left it last year when I was working on it. But this front cross member here, you know, with the holes that were in here, and these were something somebody drilled, those were not original either. This originally, in addition to the pin that Lionel used here, it's screwed into two holes here on the frame, one here and one here, and that's how the original motor mounted to this. Now I got this shell only, I got no motor with it. So what I was going to do was get some scrap modeling metal, maybe brass or soft steel, and just cut the size, new pieces to go in here, tap them, or 6x32, and I may still do that. But I'm just looking for something that I can basically get running real quick. So as I'm staring at it here, I think I have an alternate idea. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but I think if I take this small screw right here, the small bolt, and put it through that one side frame hole there. Fortunately, to be able to see it, I got to put my finger in front of it at the same time. Okay, and get it to get thread through that hole on the other side, and put a small nut on it. Now, this is not permanently how I'm going to do this. I still think I'm going to make some kind of slight offset metal pieces that I can actually thread into. But if I just take this, as I'm doing here right now, this will get me something that I can get up and running, as long as it doesn't bind with the side rods of the engine, and it does not. Let's see if I can pull it back into square a little bit better. It's actually off further than it was originally. That is not too bad. I mean, that looks terrible, but I think when I get the pieces of scrap, maybe make some shims or something so I can keep that in there as straight as possible. But I think that will work. And like I say, it's fairly straight. Not very much binding in the motor, still a little more than a lot of my Marxes are. This axle might need to be pressed a little bit yet. It's got a lot of play in it, but we'll check that. But hook it to the transformer here and see how it wants to run. Okay, there goes that noisy transformer again. Let's kick her up to here to about 10 volts. Yeah, she's running in reverse. Reverse. Now it's running forward. Full power. You see it, that's one of these new LED headlights in there. I actually think I like the old-fashioned incandescents better. I think they put out more light for the voltage applied. But that's down and dirty. I mean, this will get me on the track. It'll get it operating. I need to put some way to couple it to a tender on there yet. That shouldn't be any problem. I may actually add some weight to this so I can pull a little bit longer train. But as it stands right now, down and dirty conversion completed. Now I'll probably take the bolt as it sticks out here and Dremel it off. Take a black marker and color it. You won't see it when it's done. In a side view, of course. Now this is how it's going to appear on the track. I like it.